Okay, that sounds pretty good. So I'd be happy to chat about the Beatles, Monty Python, whatever you want to talk about. But obviously my connection to the festival is more true with the Beatles.
Well, how exciting is it for the TCM Film Festival to have a Beatles film in the Classic Film Festival?
Well, it just goes to prove that the Beatles were classics even when they started. Now, interestingly, the film, when it was made, the studio said to the filmmakers, we want you to rush this film out from script to in the movie theatres in just 4 months, because they were convinced that the Beatles' craze wouldn't last past the summer of '64. How wrong could they be? That was their rush. They rushed out. So even though it was under this gun of pressure, like rush it out, because we don't want to miss the craze, they made a classic. And there's some tribute that can be made to the Beatles' manager for that, Brian Epstein. And I'll tell you why. Because at the time, late '63, '64, pop music featuring pop artists tend to be a little bit cheesy. You think of the bad Elvis movies of that era. But the Beatles didn't want to do that. And Brian Epstein, their manager, said, look, anytime, if the Beatles do a movie, it's got to be as good in movie terms as their music is. So they turned down a lot of offers, big money. No, not interested. Let's get this right and do it good. And they came across this wonderful producer called Walter Shenson and a director, Richard Lester, and they said, okay, this feels right. And boy did it ever, Hard Day's Night and Help, these are great films.
They're beyond great films. I know I did a radio marathon with John Lennon back in 1975, back in Philadelphia, 56-hour marathon.
I know about this, yes, I know.
And he did the weather report for
Yes, that's very famous, yes.
I was standing there with my father, who worked at the station for 59 years, and I met the Beatles when they first came to America back in '64 as a little girl, and wanted to know why they couldn't come home with me. And John got the biggest kick out of that. So, you know, to have seen their progression, and John talked a lot about making the films during the radio.
Well, the interesting thing also, I got to produce the DVD edition of the film in 2002, and prior to that I introduced Walter Shenson, the producer. He wanted, in 1997-98, he was looking for a distributor to reissue the film theatrically, and I introduced him to my old friend Harvey Weinstein, and that was where the film came out in 2000, did very well, and I did the marketing, Harvey asked me to do the marketing on that, and we did that, and it proved to me, because there were fans of my age, elderly, and there were young people who were enjoying it just as much as I did in '64, because young people, they don't say, is it old, is it new, is it good, or is it bad? That's all that matters.
And how much do you think it will benefit TCM when people will fully realize that there is a Beatles film at the TCM Film Festival? Do you think that will help shed a different light on how classic films are viewed?
I hope it will. I mean, listen, you know, there are sometimes there's a perception, oh, classic films, it must all be from the 20s or 30s. A classic film, you know, it can be, they've got other classic films from the 60s and early 70s that show on Turner Classic Movies now. It's my favourite channel. So I think it's bound to broaden the base. But I like the fact that, you know, people will see that the Beatles were classic and still are classic.
They are. Martin, thank you so much.
Let me know where I can catch your program. Here's my card. There's a slight typo. I told them clearly, I said president, but you know these.
I think president works just as good.
Can I get a card too?
Yes, of course. I'm 1 P away from being president.
Yes, you are.
Which at my age is all too frequently.
And that's the same with everybody at our age. Come on.
Are you going to the Beatles convention in October? Beatles convention in LA?